The collation of the Forms 34A from polling stations and the Forms 34B from constituency tallying centers. But let's just listen to what those from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights have to say about this whole process and the state the nation is in currently.
Throughout. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights wishes to appreciate all Kenyans, especially because despite the heightened tensions, most people have restrained themselves as the country waits for the final results. We now call upon everyone in this country to continue in the same spirit as we wait for the IEBC to announce the final results. Our preliminary findings from our monitors and staff in the field indicate that certain areas of our country are already experiencing some levels of violence, unrest, and tension. We have also received reports that in some areas, people are either moving to what they consider to be safer areas, and significant number of people are still holed up in their homes, unable to move and undertake their usual business for fear of attacks. However, our commission is concerned about the building tension being witnessed in some parts of the country following the contestation of the preliminary presidential results projected at the National Tallying Center here at Bomas of Kenya in Nairobi. Our commission is extremely concerned about a number of human rights violations and atrocities that have so far been brought to our attention. So far, we have received cases or reports of killings, fatalities, 2 in Mathare, 1 in Kisii, and 1 in Tana River. As we have said continually throughout the process of observing these elections, we have said that the death of one citizen is one too many. Destruction of property has also been reported in various parts of the country. Mathare, Kisumu are some examples. As a commission, we call upon the IG of police and all security actors to strictly comply with the constitution and statutory provisions with regard to the use of force and firearms, and the use of lethal force should only be used as a last resort so as to preserve lives and save limbs. We also urge members of the public to exercise their rights, including their right to demonstrate and picket, strictly within the confines of the law as stipulated in Article 37 and 38 of the Constitution. We also call upon Kenyans to remain calm and maintain law and order as they did on August 8, 2017, when we had our polls. And as we wait for the tallying, tabulation, and announcement of the final results of the various elective positions that were being vied for, we really call upon everybody to exercise their responsibility as a citizen of this country and do it peacefully. Earlier on, we had highlighted the fact that we had over 16,000 people vying for electoral posts. And there were only about 1,000, less than 2,000 positions available, which means we will have over 14,000 contestants all over the country who will not get that which they had hoped for. So there will be a lot of disappointment, anger, frustration, and we called upon all Kenyans, even as your candidates are winning, celebrate with a bit of decorum and restraint. And when your candidate seems to be losing, also we asked Kenyans to stoically suffer that loss or frustration responsibly without attacking or impinging on other Kenyans' rights. The IEBC is by law allowed to announce the final poll or result within 7 days of the polling process. Today is only what you can say that 2.5 days since we had our polls, and we understand therefore that at least we only have preliminary results. We can wait for the final result peacefully. In line with the Court of Appeal judgment under SPA Article 86 of the Constitution, the votes cast in all of the 40,833 polling stations must be counted, tabulated, and the results promptly announced by the presiding officers. The results at the polling station must then be accurately entered in the Form 34A after the sign-off by the respective party agents. The same must be electronically transferred to the respective constituency returning officers. The General Elections Regulations of 2012 under Regulation 82 provides that all provisional results must be transmitted electronically via Form 34A to the Constituency Tallying Center, and under Regulation 83, the Constituency Returning Officer shall tally all the Forms 34As, and in presence of the agents, party agents and observers, enter those results in Form 34B and declare the same as the final results for the presidential candidates in their respective constituencies. That's the procedure. Form 34Bs are then transmitted to this National Tallying Center by the returning officers, and it is on the basis of the total tally of the results from 34Bs from all 290 constituencies that the chairperson of the IEBC then announces the presidential winner as reflected in Form 34D. We urge the IEBC to make available all the Forms 34As from the respective polling centers in their public portal as required by the law, and also urge them to announce the final results in strict adherence to the law. We have a certain number, a few preliminary findings from the polling day, which I'll ask my colleagues to share.
Okay. Maybe I'll just come in the middle. Where is the first one? Okay, thank you so much, Chair. So these are some of our preliminary findings, as we said, from the monitors we have in the 37 counties, the 264. The first one is on the issue of the voter turnout. We, as the Commission, want to congratulate Kenyans, and this has already been said, for coming out in large numbers to exercise their democratic right. This big turnout is a reflection and indication that the democratic space in our country is growing, and that Kenyans are truly interested in exercising their civic and democratic responsibility in determining the social, economic, and political direction of the country by electing political leaders of their choice. We take this opportunity to thank all the Kenyan voters who turned up to vote. Some of them woke up very early, some of them as early as 3 a.m. in the morning, and most braved long queues, the chilly and rainy mornings, all but to cast their votes. Now on the KIMS, the IEBC, through their regular updates prior to elections, had assured Kenyans that the electronic voter identification system would work. While the foregoing was generally the case on the polling day, that is on the 8th of August, in the approximately 1,200 polling centers that the Commission monitored, there were some cases of poor handling of the KIMS reported in isolated areas. For instance, in one polling station in Nakuru, the polling clerk in charge of the KIMS was allegedly recalling voters from their homes through known neighbors to retake their fingerprint details, as the system had failed to capture them when they voted. This call was after they had already left the station, and some managed to go back, including one of our monitors who was recalled. In other areas, some IEBC officials forgot their passwords and had to wait for the same to be reset, which further delayed the opening times of the polling stations. And this was the case in Narok. On the issue of security, the Commission witnessed adequate provision of security as guaranteed by IEBC, with the majority of the stations we monitored having recorded the presence of at least 2 security officers. However, there were a few cases of polling centers that had only 1 security officer, or where the security was almost overwhelmed by the big crowds. For example, in St. Anthony High School in Kawangware and Karioko Community Center, the police had to call for enforcement as the deployed personnel were overwhelmed by large crowds. We want to take this opportunity to laud the Inspector General of Police and his servicemen and women for providing.
Press briefing there by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, addressed by the chairperson, Kagwiri Mbogori, as well as the vice chairperson who's currently speaking, Georgia Morara, and some of the observations they have made during this election period and some of the concerns that they have as a commission with regards to human rights violations, reports of tension, violence and unrest, according to them, in some parts of the country, and they're urging the Inspector General of Police to look into some of the concerns they have. And currently, they were just talking about some of the things they observed when Kenyans went to the polls on August the 8th and how the whole KIMS system worked. And of course, we will be giving you more reports on the same once we come back. So let's take a